Would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior Brains?
Who wrote the Bible?
Hello my friends, welcome back to Player Display. I know, 2 videos in a row, inconceivable, but regardless, here we are. So, I actually have another retrospective for you today. And why is it that we do retrospectives on this channel? It's because the videos that were done, like, earlier in the years of YouTube weren't very well compiled, weren't very thorough. It was a different world. They could have been, like, 3 minutes long, and they were simply along the lines of,
Hey guys, here's a new figure. It's pretty cool. I intend on opening it. I'll do it at some point. I'll show you another time. Alright, later.
But on this channel, we don't do that. What we like to do on retrospectives is look at older figures and give them a thorough review. And that's what we're going to do today. So what I have here is a zombie figure, believe it or not. This is from Sideshow Collectibles, a fringe line called The Dead, Biohazard, Subject 221, Location Quadrant 002E, Case Number 092508-30190209, or if you want to sum that all together, this guy is called the Harbinger. So the reason why I really wanted to get an old zombie figure is because we recently discussed in a podcast the Katie figure that's being released by the Bitten series from Asmus Toys. And that got me so excited about zombie figures, I wanted to go down the rabbit hole and see what other zombie figures have been released in the past. And it turns out Sideshow around 2008 and 2009, they were releasing their own unique line of zombies called The Dead, very simply. And this is one of them. And this is also one of the rarer ones, believe it or not. I can't believe I lucked out on getting him. There are only 1,500 of them in existence. Half of those are the standard variants, which I have here, and the other half, the only difference is they were convention exclusives of some sort, where they had an extra little stamp, I think right down here in the box, and also an extra accessory, which is simply a crow on top of a severed hand, and that's literally it. That's the only difference between the exclusive variant and the standard version. Anyways, let's talk about the packaging, and it's very minimalistic, but sharp and exciting packaging. We got a big old bloody handprint scraping along from the top of the box, as you can see right over here, and down to the bottom with a big old palm. We got the whole labeling for the name of this figure, which is an actual decal, so they could just keep churning out as many of these boxes as they want, generically, and then just slap a sticker on there to kind of sort of indicate what the figure is on the inside. Down here we have The Dead, Sideshow Collectibles down here. Off to the sides, absolutely nothing to talk about, and nothing on the back except a little bit of blood splatter right over there. And all that being said, let's simply slip off this top and we can see the figure on the inside. Now this figure is actually pre-owned, it's been handled before, so everything's complete. As far as I know, everything should be in there, except nothing's going to be tied down. But once you remove the top sleeve, you have a full look at the figure itself. You got that sticker here, once again, 2221 being the main subject number for this particular Zed. And then we have our priest Harbinger zombie in there, along with a Bible and a crucifix. Now, for me, it was kind of a tiebreaker between which zombie I'd want to get before New Year's. Would it be the Harbinger or the Biohazard military zombie, which seems to go by many different names, which also looked kind of cool, but granted, a little too Tarman-ish, a little bit cartoony as well. This one felt more subtle, more Romero. I don't know. I saw this guy, saw the price, and I'm like, it's stock price. Can't go wrong. So here we are. And also going around to the back, anything different? Nope, it is exactly the same, just little blood splatter. So all that being said, time for some playtime, and when we come back, we will review this priest figure. Actually, in the process of opening this figure, I'm realizing that everything here is tied down, and I actually had to peel away the tape. So apparently this is mint in box, so I'm going to have to write a strongly worded letter to the seller of this figure and say, hey, I wanted a used unit, not a brand new one. Get real, I'm being sarcastic. Am I going to complain about getting a brand new figure in the box? This is great, so let's get into it. And here is our undead clergyman out of the box, and playing around with him, it definitely seemed like he was indeed brand new. There were some joints I had to break out. There was that very distinct and satisfying snap when I had to bend the elbow. So yeah, this dude is brand new, fresh out of the box, no QC issues, and a few little surprises in there. So this guy is extremely exciting. Now anyways, now that we got our 360, let's just hop right into the figure. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get back to our normal camera angle as we go over, firstly, an accessory being his figure stand. Very nice that a 1/6 scale figure from the odds actually comes with one, because sometimes they did not. But in this case, we have a very nice one with the dead emblazoned on there in that bloody red. Sideshow Collectibles, a whole bunch of legalese down here, along with that 2009 to confirm to you that this is an older figure. But humble beginnings for Sideshow nonetheless. And aside from that, just a standard crab claw, nothing too special. You pull it up, you can extend it out. If there's a larger zombie figure that you have, then obviously this will be compatible. Let's put that out of the way for now and bring in our undead priest, who looks great. Very minimalistic design. I know I'm using that word a lot in these videos lately, but yeah, I just like the fact that there are so few details here, but it's enough to tell a good story with this figure. So let's pop on in, move on up, bring the head down, and have a look at his brain bucket over there. Actually, this is going to be a little tougher to film than I thought because he is quite tall, but there is the head sculpt, which is very well painted and very well sculpted. I love how lopsided it looks. Looks like part of his face was smashed in along with the top of his dome, obviously. A little bit Freddy Krueger-ish. You got like this spotting, this tearing, liver spots and things like that. On the back, you got some balding hair over there, done in a very nice gray, looking absolutely excellent. Really nice sculpt work in the ear, too. I know it's a simple thing, but it's actually quite large, so you can make out some very good details over there. This is an old figure, and one place where this does show its age in comparison to more modern figures is when you look at the neck. There is no paintwork or sculpt work at all in there. It's just a bare base generic body for this figure underneath all this clothing. I'm not going to be undressing him to look at everything as much as he might want that. Yeah, it's just a generic body to give you the standard articulation and everything. But off to this side, it gets a lot more gnarly. You have another ear, along with some peeled apart flesh, to give you access to the brain at the top, which is absolutely grody, and I love it. The paint job is actually really good. I really like the blood red that they went with. It could have been too dark, it could have been too bright and cartoony looking, but I think they did it just right. I think it's a perfect balance between the gloss, kind of the watery red. I also want to draw some attention to the eyes right in there. I like how they're looking upwards, straight up. Makes me almost imagine that maybe he's being guided by his nose or some sort of external sense that zombies have to guide them towards their human prey or something like that. He's not going by his eyes, he's using something else to lure him towards the living, if you get what I mean. So, I don't know, it just, again, more storytelling, like when I was talking about that Katie figure, who I'm really hoping that we get early next year, because I definitely want to talk about her. I might be collecting 1/6 scale zombies from now on. They just make me a very happy camper. Down here, we got a very standard outfit of the clergy. I don't know my clergy vocabulary or anything, so work with me here. We have the white collar, which is done in a very cheap paper or cardstock or something. I wish it would have been done in cloth personally, but it still looks nice. It trenches all the way through the round of the neck here, almost like an elastic band would, so you can actually shuffle it around. I kind of had to before because it was a bit misaligned. I'm going to tweak it a little bit more with the tweezer later, but yeah, just a piece of paper, circles all the way around, and you might need to adjust that a tad, but not a big deal. Down here, you've got some buttons. They are not workable. You can't unpin them or anything. They are plugged right into the cloth. Kind of reminds me of Nosferatu a little bit, so that's very cool. I do have a 1/6 scale Nosferatu as well. Kind of poetic now that we're getting a new movie in the month, so that's going to be really exciting. Down here to the sleeves, pretty basic. Actually kind of reminds me of Jigsaw, where you got the cuffs at the end, so that's pretty interesting. But very standard sleeves, got the cuffs, and you also have uniquely molded hands, and they're both different from each other, so we will look at those. Get them up here, doing some jazz hands, and we can have a look. Again, very nice paint job for 2009, almost with these liver spots, if you will. And you also got this wash. It's all fleshy. There's a touch of red in there, too. Give him a bit more irritation. You can also make out all these wrinkles. This is an old guy who became a zombie after all. And yeah, it's just very unnerving looking. The sculpts are different from each other. I mean, aside from them obviously being a lefty and a righty, one is in a different position from the other, and both of them are meant to hold his single accessory, which we will talk about in a bit. Down here, we also have something of, not really a belt, kind of just a wrap that goes around the waist. Actually, this knee is not quite straight. There we go. So it goes all the way around, and you can unwrap it if you want, but I'm not going to. But then down here in the center, you have a little rosary with a cross in there. Rosary, right? Am I wrong about about that. I think I'm right. But yeah, very well done looking crucifix with the J-Man on there. Part of me wishes that this was done in die cast. I think that would have been really nice. But no, just done in plastic. But nice paint job anyways. I don't even think it's paint. I think it's molded straight in the gunmetal silver or whatever's going on there. But good looking piece. It really helps to break up the solid black that this figure is otherwise done in. So I do appreciate that little touch of silver that we have to break up this abyss a little bit more. Down to the rest of the skirt, you think, oh, it's just a skirt. But no, there are a few surprises in there. Let's pop out a bit. Firstly, it is parted a bit so you can get him into more poses and stuff like that. And when I do that, you'll notice that the individual portions of the skirt are broken up and kind of stiff. And that's because this is one of the earliest instances of soft goods wiring that I have ever seen. So I don't know what you'd be doing with that. It's not like you'd be doing zombie kicks or anything. Or if you want him doing the thriller dance, then I guess that could help as well. But that's still a nice detail. It makes him look a little bit more frayed, more like he's blowing in the breeze, whatever you want. So you can get creative with that. He's not going to be booking it forward 28 days later style or anything like that. So I'm not going to have a whole ton of use of this wiring, but for those of you who want it, it's there, so that's pretty damn great. If you part the skirt away a little bit, then he does have some very generic pants, literally no details to speak of, which is fine. But the second detail I did want to bring up is there is some very subtle weathering. You can see that there's some spotting, some water damage. It's a little hard to make out on the camera, but yeah, you can kind of see it there, a little dusty, a little mucky, and it looks good. And the same pattern kind of continues down here to the very basic shoes, which are pretty well sculpted. I mean, I can't see why Sideshow would have trouble sculpting shoes, but yeah, you got the shoelaces, you got a little edges and nooks and crannies of what a shoe should be. I don't know what else to talk about here. And that is pretty much it for the basic aesthetics of this dead clergyman over here. Very good figure. Again, simple design, but extremely effective. Now with our Harbinger out of the way, we can look at his one sole accessory, being the pre-alpha version 0.0.1 Bible, which looks very, very old. You can see it's got this worn leather look to it. It's got this metal-looking cross that has very special attention to detail. It's got some weathering and also a little bit of gloss coat in there, which is fantastic. You can also see it here along these buckles to clamp everything together. Not openable, that's fine, although I think that would have been interesting. And you also got some extra detail work on the back, looking very expertly crafted, and also a little bit more on the spine. What's that, braille? What's going on? I have no idea. You also got some pages along the top that you can see. They're a little worn, a little yellowed out. Also perhaps subjected to some water damage, looking pretty good. Who wrote the Bible? Was it Jesus? No, couldn't have been Jesus, because I guess he had his hands tied. As for getting the Bible into his hands, which is such an interesting thing to talk about with an action figure, it is actually easier than you'd think. They did think about this pretty well. This right hand is pre-posed to hold the Bible pretty okay. It is a balancing act because this thing is rather heavy for a figure, but you can kind of clamp it between the thumb and the main fingers, and you see it's not like a firm lock or anything, but it can kind of rest there, so you can be holding it right there if you want, and that doesn't look too bad. But if you want, you could throw it over the other hand, and that will be a little more secure. One thing that I like about the zombie lore is, even though they are far from human, they sometimes have a slight recollection of who they used to be. So maybe he's walking around with just holding the Bible. He doesn't know why, but that's what he was doing in his past life. Let's move right into articulation, which, again, quite basic. It's a standard base body, so not a ton to talk about, but that means nothing here is too restricted. Again, one of the reasons why this figure is better than the rest is because some of the dead line actually had no articulation in the elbows, like the babysitter was one that comes to mind. So yeah, some of them just had stiff arms and no articulation in certain spots for whatever reason, but this dude is fully decked out. That movement is great because we have that standard neck, so you can do your tilt, which is very important for a zombie. Let's go back, so you could be flying like Christopher Reeve. Great amount down, and it seems like there's two dumbbell joints. You got one right here just below the head and right here at the base of the neck, which is very good to see. As for the torso, combining the waist and the abs, I don't know what type of joints are in there, but combining everything together, good amount forward, good amount back, especially because you got soft goods, nothing's too tight or anything, it's not spandexy or anything, or too rubbery. Got some tilts, As for the arms, I suspect they go all the way around, but once again, the cloth kind of hinders that, which is fine. I mean, he's not going to be jumping for joy with the arms in the air or anything. As for the bicep swivel, no bicep swivel, which is okay, not a huge deal, but that's okay. There is a swivel in the elbow, so that allows him to outstretch his arm, get all creepy. You're all my children now. Maybe not something you want to hear from a priest. They get down to the wrist here, and I'm not totally sure what's going on. Yeah, it's like a McFarlane wrist joint, or any 6-scale figure wrist joint for that matter, so you can do in, out, up, down, just takes a little bit of rotating work. As for legs, let's see what the splits are, because he's got the split in the skirt. He can go all the way out. Whoopee! Good for him. As for kicks, all the way forward. Wow, this dude is a ninja. He can go anywhere you want. He's pretty damn good. I mean, I'll breeze through the rest of the leg. I mean, you got the swivel in there, double jointed knees, you got ankles, back, forward, and maybe there's no rocker. Nope, there is a rocker. It's just a generic ball joint in here rather than just the pin coming out. So you need to position the joint properly to have the rocker, but it's in there. So you can do your forward and back, but if you want it to rock, then you need to kind of do a little finagling here. And there we go. Now we got the rocker. So you just got to toy around with it, but then again, it's a toy. That's what you're supposed to do with the dead priest anyhow. Here we are with our priest raising the dead for some size comparisons. Off to the left, we have the grayscale Nosferatu, also from Sideshow Collectibles. And off to the right, we have what was originally my rarest 1/6 scale figure, I believe, until this guy came along. I believe this guy is limited to about 3,000 pieces. This is the Dead Rising 2 Fat Zombie, which was released with exclusive copies of the video game. I actually don't know who produced this figure. It may have also been Sideshow. I'm really not sure. But quality-wise, he's very light. He might have been released around the same time as Harbinger over here. I really don't know. That being said, these are also two really great figures. If you want retrospectives on those guys as well, especially Nosferatu with the new movie coming out, then do let me know. I mean, I'll probably review this guy anyways. But for this dude, let me know. He's pretty niche. I'm not sure if everyone needs a modern review on him. But as for some last comparisons, we also have Star Wars The Black Series, Quash, and Mechamuk.
After years of searching, I have found them. The sacred Jedi texts.
That's not the Jedi text. Looks like something else. It's like the Old Testament or whatever they call it.
This is the Bible.
Yeah.
So what do I think about the Harbinger and how he stacks up compared to modern figures? Honestly, once you set him on the shelf, you wouldn't bat an eye. He doesn't look like he's out of date. He doesn't look like he's lacking articulation. He moves around incredibly. I'm actually very surprised at that, especially when, again, as I've said, other figures in the Dead line lacked articulation. So it's really nice to have one here that has all articulation full stop. He's got the elbows, he's got the ankle, which I'd argue is the most annoying joint to work with because you got to rotate that joint, but not a huge deal. He's got every single joint in here, which is fantastic, and really helps him to stay leveled up with the rest of the figures that we're getting these days. Also, the paint job, even though there aren't a whole lot of places to paint on this figure, they did the best they could, and then a little bit more. Of course, you got it on the head and the hands, where it's expertly done, but when you go down to the bottom of the skirt and the shoes, they did a little bit of weathering as well. So that's a really nice tiny detail, but it really does bring this guy together full circle, and I think they did the best they could with the very basic concept of a zombie priest design. They could have just simply had a priest, slapped a new head on him, did nothing with the hands whatsoever, and stopped there, but well, they wanted to do enough to bring this, again, I use the word minimalist design together just by, alright, you got the head, we got the hands out here, got the cross in the middle, then we got some weathering towards the bottom to make everything feel very cohesive, and I really like that a lot. This figure is fantastic, although very rare. If you want to get him, he is available, but the prices are a little bit overinflated. I mean, it's been about, 15 years now? So this dude is quite old, he is quite pricey, as is the Dead line. Some of them are very easy to get. I think the easiest ones to get from what I saw are the Babysitter and the Soldier that I've been talking about today. But then there's also a punk rock zombie, which I really like. But as of this recording, I'm only seeing a single listing. It's like in Australia or something. So that one might be on a whole other level of exclusivity. I have no idea. And once again, there's not a whole lot of reviews on these figures, so I can't really speak to the rest of them right now. Because for the few videos that do exist, once again,
They're kind of crap.
So I'm hoping that this one was a little bit better and more informative. But yeah, let me know what you think about this Harbinger over here. Do you like this figure? Do you think that he's too old for his own good? Is the non-sculpted flesh parts of the basic body that are exposed a turnoff for you? Let me know. I don't mind at all, but maybe that's something that you'd want to customize to make him just a little bit more on par with modern offerings from Hot Toys and Sideshow. Really, it's up to you. But that being said, really awesome addition to my, what I'm hoping will be an expanding collection of zombie figures. He's great. I dig him a lot. He's very good. So, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed them, please, as per usual, be sure to
Like, comment,
Ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals. And subscribe.
yeah, hi, Mechabug here. If you want to see more from Pod Guy, then please be sure to check out the Pod Plays channel down in the description for some Let's Plays. And if you want to support the channel a bit too, you also got the Pod Patreon, which is down in the description as well. See you around, folks!
Thank you guys very much for watching. Rock on, and I will see you all later.